All right, let's talk about client portals and dashboards. So up until now, we have been able to create really useful stuff for us. And maybe you've experimented with building some sort of dashboard for yourself. I have one that opens up when I use my GM command in the morning. It opens up a dashboard and I can see the to-dos. I can see how often I use my skills. I can see what's in my Gmail inbox. I can see how many new YouTube videos and email newsletters were fetched overnight and what the totals for those are, plus a whole bunch of other stuff, charts and graphs. I got loads of different tabs on there now. I find it very useful, but it's just for me. It opens up on localhost, so it's not deployed on the web anywhere. It's just for me. We've talked about creating HTML reports, and maybe you've been through one of my challenges. You've created a gorgeous looking PDF, probably HTML first and then PDF. But so far we've really just been emailing those PDFs to clients or prospects. So now we get to build something a little bit more ambitious. You've got all of the Lego pieces. Now we can just put them together in a slightly different way and build something a little more ambitious. Maybe take that landing page audit and deliver that as one big web page, or we can ask the brain just to split that up into various slides and display that as a presentation. I demonstrated this on would have been, if you go into the members area and find the February Q&A call, so the February monthly call, you'll see that I did this for the call. I think I literally threw it together 5 minutes before the call, took all of the ideas that the brain and I had been discussing during the afternoon, what am I going to talk about this evening, and it built out a slide presentation which we threw together, which could easily be deployed on Vercel and password protective. We've talked about creating those competitor intel reports. You could have that rather than just a static PDF. You could now make that an interactive dashboard. Imagine comparing your client to a competitor, maybe a little drop down at the top, and they can choose which competitor, and then it's showing them side by side, them versus their competitor, and they get to change the drop down and maybe click some buttons and poke around in there. And you can measure all of that because you can put some form of analytics on the site, and then you'll know when they've read the report. You'll know how long they spent on there. You'll know which pages they clicked on. You could build a little feedback section in there, or a do you want us to action this? Tick, bang. You could put a payment button in there that bounces off to Stripe if you really don't want to invoice them. The only constraint here is your imagination. Many members have already built something like a Google Ads performance portal. Now, you will want to set up the Google Ads API before doing this, because you don't want to be having to manually go and get some CSVs and drag those into the brain so that it can build a portal. That's going to be a bit frustrating and a bit annoying. Look, there's ways around that. If you really don't want to go near the API, you could build a Google Ads script that downloads that data, or set up scheduled reports that dump CSVs into a folder on Drive. There's a ton of ways to do it. Just have a chat with the brain and say, what's the best way? Here's the problem I want to solve. This is the problem I've identified. Give me 3 ways that we could solve this and your recommendation for the best one. Anything you can think of can be turned into and displayed as a much more visually interesting and therefore more perceived value little app. They get a URL, they get a password, and then they can interact with it. So when we went through the Sellable Services Challenge in February, we did this. We created a landing page audit with a bunch of different sections, and then we deployed that onto Vercel. The free challenge before that, back in January, was a competitive intelligence report. But same thing, we didn't deploy that in the free challenge. It was a bit beyond the scope of the free challenge, but you can take the learnings from the paid challenge or all of the other learnings in the members area, like this video and the previous few, and turn that competitive intelligence report into a gorgeous little website. And same with some of the other sellable services that you have access to. there's the workflow. I don't think you need it spelled out more than that. I think you get it by now, but let's cover it. Client asks for an audit. You run the skill. You could have that running on autopilot every month, every quarter. You could have that running for all of your clients every Monday morning, looking through them and deciding which ones you think are valuable. Fact checking, absolutely. Having a human review as part of that process for sure. Maybe tweaking it a bit, adding your particular flavor to it, and then giving the AI the feedback of that so it gets closer and closer to your way each time. That's ideal. But we should always be checking that output, particularly when we're asking it to write content like that, fact checking it before it goes out the door to a client. Let's review and refine that. Then we can use the Vercel skill to deploy that, or you can use Replit, which I do, and then send them an email. And if you've got Gmail hooked up with the brain, you can literally say, as I demonstrated in the Sellable Services Challenge, you can literally say, hey, Google, hey, brain, write that draft, that email for me, put the link, put the password, put everything in there, draft a nice email, you know who it's going to, put their email address in there, write the subject line for me, and then open my Gmail drafts in my browser so I can check that, read through it, and hit send. You're doing all of this through voice in a few seconds. Other than the review and refine section here, each of these really is just a few seconds, maybe a few minutes. It really isn't much, but massive value created. However, let's make sure we keep things simple. It's very compelling when we have access to all of these tools, all of these Lego bricks, to want and go and build the biggest Lego model in the world. I mean, this is so much fun. We have the world's biggest Lego set. But let's just start small. Build small things that add real value. And then we can start to combine those later. But don't procrastinate and don't put this off trying to plan out the biggest, perfect, huge thing, because you'll never get around to doing it. The plan will always be too big. Ask me how I know. Just start with a version 1 or a version 0.1 and just get something out there. Turn an HTML report into a web page, send it to somebody, just so that you see how easy it is. Take your kid's bedtime story, generate some images, turn it into a web page, and then go read the story on your phone with your kid. That doesn't seem like a great use of AI, does it? But you could do that if you wanted to. Like, I think this is what people want, is clarity, and then they want action. They don't want data. They do not want another bloody dashboard. Information is better than data. Insight is even better than information. Yes, they want you to go through the information and find the insights in that data. But what they really want are what actions need to be taken based on those insights. Boil it down for me. Give me a prioritized list. And how do we prioritize? Well, we have to think about the expected business outcome. What is likely to happen if we take this action? How do we mitigate against any risks taking this action? What's the best that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? That all goes into that list of actions, which is why that's so much more valuable than another big data dump, or as Avinash would call it, a puking data, a data puke, he calls it. I love that term. They want it to be easy. Everybody wants a magic easy button. So let's make it easy for them. Don't give them pages and pages and pages of a PDF. Let's make it really easy for them. Let's surface not just the insights, but the actions and say, here is what we suggest. And how could you make that even easier? They could just go, yes, 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 and click on 3 buttons on this interactive, beautiful thing instead of a whole bunch of emails going back and forth. And that could send a message back, okay, now I'm over-engineering it, aren't I? Don't start there. Keep it simple to start with, but you can build on top of that. Build version 1 first and ship it. And then build version 2 and go, oh, that was easy. Got another idea. Oh, let's do this. But at each stage now, we're shipping it. We're sending it out there. We're getting feedback. We're trying it out. We're not sitting in front of the whiteboard for a week and going, oh, what was version 47 look like? That would be quite good before we've even built version 1. Build version 1, get it out the door, and then iterate. There's a lot of stuff they don't care about. They don't want to speak geek. They just want clear actions. Well done. You made it to the end of another section. You can now build and deploy and send stuff out into the world. Next, we'll talk about a really, really fun part of using the brain, and that is connecting it to a bunch of external services. I shall see you there. Bye-bye.